This
are you guys
conference will now be recorded.
yeah, and are you guys okay if we just maybe overshoot maybe by 5 or 10 minutes, or is it like you want to complete by exactly by 10 o'clock itself? Because I see like 10 o'clock, for Indian people it is 10 p.m. IST. How's your preference actually? Just wanted to understand. Ashwini, Kanmani, Leela, Joffrey, can you please unmute yourself and just let me know?
So even if it like exceeds like 5 to 10 minutes, that's fine, sir, because we have to complete that part what you are
Okay,
explaining, right?
okay.
So just stop in the between. That's
Yeah,
what my
exactly.
preference is. Yeah.
Because I don't look at the clock while teaching. When I'm in the flow, sometimes I totally forget about the timing. So that is why. So, and please pardon me if I sometimes overshoot the time actually. Okay, that's okay, Joffrey. I totally get that. Okay, fine. And in the middle of course, if you are actually sending me something on chat, I may not be able to look into the screen. So maybe you'll have to, just call out via your voice. Okay, so I'm sharing my screen and I'll start. All right. And yeah, it is good to know, like what all kind of people are joining this group. Fine. Can somebody please confirm if you're able to see my screen?
Yeah, it's visible.
Okay, right. So yesterday we just talked about a couple of things. So we'll start with a very quick round of, you can say a recap, because I feel recap is extremely important. Without recap, without, learning what we have actually learned earlier, it becomes very difficult. So we talked about primitive types in JavaScript. Can anyone just raise their hand or maybe simply quickly tell us what all primitive types we have in JavaScript? Very quickly. We just talked about it yesterday. Anyone? That's okay, Geoffrey. Yeah. Anyone who would like to volunteer, or should I just go ahead? That's okay. So primitive types we just talked about yesterday. So there are five primitive types in JavaScript. We have number, we have string, we have boolean, then we have null, and then we have undefined. Okay. So booleans are simply yes or true or false values, yes or no, or one and zero, right? And then we also talked about there are three ways of declaring a variable in JavaScript. One is let, then we have const, and then we have something called as var. I just talked about it here. And yeah, using a var is not really recommended. So we should never use var. We should always use let and const, right? So one person was telling that they have Java and Java, only Java background, right? So for them, you must be aware that we have something called as int, float, double and char and all those things. But in Java, we have just let and const, nothing else. Okay. And then variables can even change their types. For example, I told you, so I created a variable called num of donuts. I assigned it as a number, and then I assigned it another value, which is a Boolean value, right? I can even assign it true, false. I can even assign it my name, which is kind of weird. Ideally, I should create a separate variable for this, but this is actually possible. Okay. And then I told you about strings. So strings are basically what? Strings are actually pieces of text. Okay. And we wrap them in quotes. We can use single quote, we can use double quote, and then we can also use backtick. So backtick key is something that is there on the left of your numeric one and just below the escape key. You don't have to use shift, you simply type this key. Okay. So this is the backtick key. So these are the three ways how we use strings in JavaScript. Okay, so and that is how we create strings using either let. We can use const also. So there's no hard and fast rule that I have to use let. I can simply use const with a double quote, and then we can use even a single quote. That's totally your preference actually. And then we have something called as type of operator that we discussed yesterday. So type of operator is actually completely in lowercase. Lowercase isn't like this, and it is an operator. It is not a method. So we should never use like this, these parentheses. Okay, so type of operator is all in lowercase, and we simply use type of followed by a variable, or we can say, I'll show you. This is how we did. I'll do this inspect. I go to my console, I clear it out, and then I type simply type of followed by any. I can either type a variable here like var or something, var1, or either I can type a data. For example, numeric this. So it returns me a data type, but inside a stringified form. Why? Because it is enclosed inside these single quotes. Okay, and then I also taught you we can use single quotes inside double quotes, and then we can do even vice versa. We can use double quote inside single quotes. Okay, but there's a catch here. Inside single quotes, I cannot use another pair of single quotes. For example, if this is my single quote string, it is ending here. I cannot use a single quote string here. See, I'm getting an error, but I can use a double quote here, not an issue. And inside this double quote, I can use single quote, not an issue. But if I try to use double quote like this, JavaScript will get confused. So that is what it is. Okay. Yeah. And then I also, we talked about what is concatenation. Concatenation is like when I try to join two strings together, that is called concatenation. So if this is my first string and this is my second string, and if I do first name plus MSG, so the output will be Piyush plus this. I can even show you. So, okay, I can just do simply here. Sorry, not const. I'll do console.log. So console.log is what? This is used to print something to the console as an output. So I can do something like this. First name plus this is the concatenation operator. In the case of strings, it behaves like a concatenation operator. But if I'm trying to add two numbers, then it behaves like a normal addition operator. So depending upon the values, it automatically takes. So I'll use this. What I'll do is, if I just want to execute this piece of code, I'll select this and I'll simply click on this button. And this button came from where? I told you yesterday. We go to this extensions tab. Inside this extensions tab, I have downloaded this extension, CodeRunner by Junhan. Okay, that is why I'm getting this button. If this extension is not present on your inside of VS Code, you'll not see this option. Okay, so I'll close this extensions window. I'll click here. Okay. So what I'll do, I'll simply select this piece of code and I'll click on this and I'll get my output. See, this is the concatenated string. So after Piyush, there is no space on something. Why? Because I'm simply concatenating it. Okay. And this is called a string concatenation. Right. I'll clear my console. I'll close this window. And then yeah. So what I told you yesterday, strings are indexed. What do I mean by index? Every character in a string has a specific index. For example, if this is my string which is chicken, so character C has got index 1, then is index 1, sorry, index 0, then index 1, then index 2, and so on. And if this entire string is of length 7, then the last character will have index as 6, which is length minus 1. Why? Because all the strings starts at index of 0. This is little weird, but that is what it is. And every string has a length property. I forgot to write length here. Yeah, every string has got a length property. So if I want to check out the length of a string, I can do something like this. For example, Piyush dot length. It will simply give me the length of Piyush, which is 6. Okay. So this is fine. And I also talked about, yeah, strings are immutable in Java, means I cannot change my original string. I can create a new string based upon an original string, but that original string cannot be changed. Okay. And then I talked about couple of string methods. What are those methods? And yeah, all of these string methods can be used only by typing this any string like this followed by dot, and the moment I type dot, I see this small window. This small window is called as IntelliSense, and we can type any method that is available in JavaScript. For that, we don't have to use any external library, nothing, right? It is a part of JavaScript, so it is available inside the browser without installing any other thing. Okay, so if I use something like this, 2 lowercase, JavaScript is simply telling me that it is aware of this function, but it is not going to execute it if I simply press enter. If I want to execute it, I have to use these parentheses. So I get this output. Similarly, to execute any function, simply type dot and use this. It's not like I have to use a hard-coded string here. What I can do is I can show you like this. I can do, let's say, const name equal to, uh, let's say I take this name as Shalini. Okay. Now I can do console.log name dot to upper case. So this is a little bit challenge with VS Code that sometimes it doesn't show us the intelligence. Okay. So now it is, you can say strike through option is there. So it says name is deprecated. So it is not a valid name that is provided. The moment I change from name to name one, it works fine. Okay. Now what I'll do is I'll simply select this piece of code because I just want to execute this part. I don't want to execute all the above piece of code. So I'll simply select this part. I'll click on this button and I see this output as Shalini. So this original Shalini is still there inside name one. Okay. But what I'm doing is I'm creating a new string based upon this. And then we talked about a trim method yesterday. So what does trim method does? It simply removes the starting and ending white spaces. It removes starting and ending white spaces. Okay. And then I even talked about we can chain multiple methods together. For example, I showed you yesterday that if there's a variable called color, I can do something like this. Color, oops, color dot, let's say I can use trim and then followed by 2 uppercase. Right. So, and we can chain as many methods as we want. So this is called as method chaining. This is first method. Again, I have to use parentheses. This is the second method. Again, I have to use parentheses. And if I really want to print it in the console, I'll have to wrap it inside console.log. Without this, JavaScript is not going to throw any error, but nothing will be printed in the output. To get something in the output here, we have to use console.log. For people who are like from Java background, we have something like system.out.println. It is exactly same as that. Okay. And then we talked about a couple of more string methods. So one method that we talked about is index of. So it tells us where in a string you can say a given string occurs. And then I talked about slice method, which simply cuts a string into a smaller string. I know I'm going a little fast, but what we do is like the more we'll practice, I'll give you a couple of more assignments. That is where you'll actually understand how these methods are really useful. At this moment, don't worry much about all this. Just try to understand what these methods really does. And don't worry, even if you don't remember the syntax of all this, all you have to do is just do a little bit of practice, and that is how you'll remember. Okay. So this is about slice method. And then, yeah, we have something called as a replace method. Replace method, as per the name itself, it simply replaces a part of a string with something else. For example, I'll tell you, let's say I have a string. I'll come here, I'll clear it out. So let's say this is my string. Say I type baseball is entertaining. Right. So this is my complete string. Now I want to replace this particular part of string with something else. So what I'll do, this is the how I use replace function. And here what I type is the syntax of replace all is it says replace what, replace with. Let me just copy it here and I'll paste here. So this is replace what? This is replace with. So in this case, if I want to replace, let's say, entertaining with something else, let's say I want to replace entertaining with okay. So how do I change? I'll do like this. This is just for to make you understand. So replace what is what? I want to replace entertaining word, entertaining with what? I want to replace it with okay. Right? So this is what I do. So I'll do simply console.log because why? I want to print it out to the console. Okay, I'll select this piece of code. I'll click on this and I get this output as okay. So what it does, inside this particular string, we are searching for a string called entertaining, and if it is present, I'm replacing this string with okay. I hope it is not very tricky. If somebody please let me know like if you guys are okay to understand this, or I'm okay to explain you again if something is not clear. Any questions so far? No? Okay. Yeah, somebody's asking? Okay, now let's play a quick quiz. Okay, so I have something like this. Const age equal to double quotes 5 plus double quotes 4. Now, what if I do console.log of age? Can somebody please tell me? What is the output?
54.
Okay. Who said that? Your name, please.
I'm Leela, sir.
Okay, right. So, and can you please tell me why we got the output as 54 and not 9?
Because when you put double quotes, it might treat as string. So
Oh,
concatenation of two strings is 54.
exactly. So since this plus operator behaves differently when it comes when we have strings or when we have numbers. So firstly, this plus operator will check, okay, this left operand, is it a string or a number? Okay, but because of these double quotes, it says that, okay, this is a string and this is also a string. So I cannot add them directly. So what I'll have to do is I'll have to concatenate them. And that is why as you rightly mentioned, I get the output as what? 54. Now, if I really want to have 9 as the output, so what I need to do is I'll do something like this. I'll type age equal to, as I mentioned earlier, variables can change their types. Not recommended, but I'm still doing it. So I'll do something like this, console.log of age. Now, what will be the output now? First time we'll get,
9.
okay, I'll clear the console, I'll run it. See, any idea why we get this error?
We should declare that constant, right? Age.
Ye-
What is the type
Yeah,
of?
exactly. Because I created this variable as a constant variable, means constant variable means I cannot change the value of this variable. Okay, so and till here this is perfectly okay, but the moment JavaScript sees this particular piece of code, it says that okay, this age variable is declared as a constant, but I'm trying to change the value to 9, which is not really possible. Why? Because it is a constant. So in order to let go of this error, or to fix this error, I have to change the const to let. Now it will start working. I hope you see the difference between let and const. So let variables, we can change the values as many times as we want, but if it is a constant variable, I cannot change its value. Okay, can somebody give me and I mean tell me why in any particular scenario I would like to declare a variable as a constant variable? See, I get the output as 54 and 9. This 54 is concatenation, and this console.log is printing 5 plus 4 is 9. I hope this is perfectly clear now. Yeah, so coming to constant variable, any idea why we'll actually use constant variable in any instance? Can somebody please tell me? Anyone? Okay, I see somebody. Rahul, can you please unmute yourself and tell me?
Yes.
Yeah, any specific scenario that you can think of wherein we can where we should use constant and should not use let?
Uh, Age equal to
Hmm.
name.
Okay, that's fine.
Any
So
name?
that's, yeah. So that's a good attempt, Rahul. So I'm happy that you know responded. So I can give a very simple example. If you go back a little to our early days, we studied something called as pi, right? There's a number called as pi in math, right? And it has got a fixed value. Sorry, it is not PIE, it is pi, right? And it has a value like 3.1416 something. I hope you all remember, right? Not the exact value, but something called as pi, right? Now this variable pi is always going to be fixed, which is 3.1416. It should never change. In this case, I will never declare it as let. Of course, nobody is stopping me. I can still use let, but common sense tells me that I should use it as a constant. Why? Because pi is a fixed value. It can never change. Are you getting me? So this is where we should use const. Otherwise, in majority of cases, we should use let. Let is the safest option. But for such kind of variables wherein we should never want to change, there we can use const. I hope this is okay. Now, another quiz question for you. Let's say I create a variable by the name of song, and I declare a string called London calling. Now, if I do something like this, console.log song.to uppercase. Can somebody tell me what is the value of song variable now? And if possible, if somebody has already answered before, try giving other people chance now. Anyone? What is the value of song? Not the value of console.log. What is the value of song variable now at this moment? Can someone tell me? Or should I pick randomly? Okay, I see somebody, Atish. Can you please unmute yourself? This is the first time I'm seeing you. Hello, can you hear me? Not sure. Okay, anyone else who can unmute him and tell me? Okay, Atish has unmuted himself. Yes, Atish. Can you tell me what's the value of song variable now? Yeah.
Hello.
Hello. Yeah, please tell me. What do you think is the value of song variable? No? Don't worry. So, okay, let's run and see. The output of console.log is, of course, capitalized London calling. Why? Because I'm using this method, which is fine. But if I do something like this, console.log of song, it is still London calling because I have not changed this value. I've just created another string, but I have not stored this string somewhere. So this capitalized string London calling is actually lost. Why? Because I'm not storing it. Now if I run it, see, the value of song is still London calling. Now, if I really want to store this capitalized value, I'll have to do something like this. Song equal to song.to uppercase. Now I'm storing this capitalized London calling string inside my song variable, and this original lowercase value is now lost. So if I do something like this, console.log of song, let me comment this out. Let me comment this as well. I've selected, click on the run button. See, I get the output as London calling. So it means I've changed my value to capitalized value. So I have to use this assignment operator. So this equal to is called as assignment operator. The operator that we see here, if it is number, it is addition operator. If these are strings, then it becomes a concatenation operator. And this is called as assignment operator. And using this assignment operator, whatever is on the right hand side, that value is actually assigned to something on the left hand side. So the value of right hand side is what? Capitalized London calling, and this London calling value is now being assigned to song, which is on the left hand side. So this is how it works. Okay, now another thing, suppose I have something called as, I have a variable called as park, and let's say there's a park by the name of Yellowstone. And if I do something like this, const index, this time I'm declaring it as a constant. So I'm doing something like this. You remember I talked about index of, so here I'm using something like this, stone. Can someone please unmute yourself and tell me what is the value of index now? Park.index of stone. Anyone? Okay, I'll execute this piece of code. Console.log index. I'll select it, I'll run it. See, the output is 5. Why? Because this stone starts from S. So inside this entire string, I'm looking for this string called stone. So where is stone? Is this stone? No. Is it stone? No, no. So is it like 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5? So the index of stone is what? 5. Now, if I change this capital S to small s, any idea what shall happen? Here, JavaScript is case sensitive. So I'm looking for a lowercase string inside this. So do we have a lowercase string, lowercase stone here? No. So what shall be the output? Let me clear it. I'll simply run again. I get the output as -1. So this is a way to check if I'm having a smaller string inside my bigger string. Okay. So -1 means this string is not really present inside my park variable. I hope this is clear. Okay. A little complicated example. So I do something like this. Console.log, let's say I have a string called garbage, okay, with an exclamation. And then what I'm doing is I'm creating something like slice of 2. I'm doing method chaining. If you remember, I told you that we can chain multiple methods like this. This is my first method. This is my second method. And then I'm doing replace what? Capital B, comma, single quote. Okay. Can anyone please tell me what shall be the output if I simply run this code? This is going to be interesting. Can anyone tell me? Anyone? Want to try? No? Okay. I was also very scared initially when I started learning this. I thought like it's going to be really difficult, but it is not very difficult. How I'm so confident right now is because I've actually practiced this so many times. Okay, so it's become a second nature to me. So
Sir, is the index, is that syntax correct for this slice? I'm not
yeah,
sure.
yeah, this syntax is correct. So in the
Okay.
case of slice, right? See,
Okay.
I simply bring my mouse here and it shows me string.slice. It's I have to provide a starting number and ending number, and both are optional actually.
Okay.
So when I say garbage dot slice of 2, it means it is going to slice from which index? 0, 1 and 2 from here. Okay. So what shall be the output now? Till here,
Uh,
the output is RBAGE because 0, 1 and 2. Right. So it is starting from this index, which is R. Right. And what I am doing is, so, okay, my after slice 2, my string is what? RBAGE. Right. And then what I'm doing is, with this particular string, now I'm doing this. I'm doing what? I'm replacing B with empty string. So what's going to happen? This B is gone. So what shall be the output? Only this range. And that is why I get this output as range. Yeah, of course, with this exclamation part. I hope this is clear. Is there anyone who is not still clear about this? Please let me know, and I'm happy to explain again. But it's a very, very important concept. Anyone who is not clear on this, or should we proceed forward? I'm assuming like you guys are clear. Next, we are going to learn about what? String escape characters. What are string escape characters? I'll tell you. So, okay, \n. We have something called as \n, which stands for new line. Don't worry if you're not understanding at the moment. I'll tell you this. This is what? Single quote. Yeah. And then we have something called as this, which stands for double quote. And then we have which stands for backslash. So any idea what is happening? So basically these are string escape characters. If you remember, I told you inside single quote string, I cannot use another single quote, or inside a double quote string, for example, this, I cannot use a double quote inside because JavaScript is going to get confused. But there is a way out. How? Using string escape characters. So if I do something like this, backslash this. So it means what I'm doing is I'm actually inserting another double quote, but using this escape character. So this escape character is actually telling JavaScript that I want to insert this double quote, but this insert quote, don't treat it as the end of string like this. Just treat it as a regular character. That is why I have to use this escape character, and it is there in Java also. Okay. For single quote, I don't need to use because anyways this string starts on double quote and I can use it like this. But if it was a single quote string like this, and now if I want to insert a single quote inside this string, see, JavaScript gets confused, but I can tell JavaScript that I still want to use a single quote inside. So what I want to do is I have to escape this character using a backslash. So this is like a backslash key, and this is how we use. Similarly, we can use double backslash also, and that is what the funda is all about. So these are string escape characters. Any confusions? No? Okay, I can give us another example. So I go to Google, I clear my console, I clear it out, and I do something like this. Let's say I type something like hello, I do backslash n, and then I type goodbye. Now if I hit enter, see, I get this output. All right. So, and then we have something called a string template literals. Is there anyone who is aware of Python? Anyone? No? Okay. Python is actually a very simple language. Okay. So we have something called as string template literals in JavaScript. So string template literals are what? I'll give you a very simple example. So template literals are those strings that allow embedded expressions which will be evaluated and then turned into a resulting string. For example, let me give you a simple example here. So I clear the console and I type like this. Yeah, in order to use template literals, I'll write this. This is something called as must. In order to use template literals, I have to use backticks. And that's the beauty of backticks, I'll tell you. So backtick key is what? It is just below the escape key. I'll type this. This is the starting backtick and this is the ending backtick. Okay. Inside these backticks, I can type any kind of string. I can use single quote inside without any issues. I can use double quote inside without any issues. So this is pretty cool thing. But this is not possible if it was starting with single quote or double quote. So inside backticks, this is how I use. Okay, so I'll remove this for now. I'll remove the single quote. Yeah, so I type something like this. I count. Now I want to embed a JavaScript expression right inside this. So what I can do, I'll simply type dollar and then I'll use this, which is parenthesis and starting parenthesis, and this is ending parenthesis. Inside this, I am typing 3 plus 5, and then I'll type like this. And see, I get the output as I count 8 cat. So what is happening is inside this string, if I want some expression to be evaluated first, so this is the syntax. I have to mandatorily use dollar followed by starting parenthesis and ending parenthesis. And inside, I can pass any valid JavaScript expression. Any valid JavaScript expression. So if it was not a you can say a simple backtick, I cannot use it. Otherwise, I would simply get an error. So I'll show you like this.
Excuse me, what is the purpose of concatenation? Means joining of two strings to different methods?
Okay, so concatenation, as I told you. So what's the good name again, please?
So what is the difference between concatenation and backticks? Difference?
Okay, so firstly, there's no difference, but okay, so they are not at all related. Why? Because backtick is something. Okay, I'll tell you. So I showed you in this particular string, it started with double quote and it ended with double quote. But inside this string, I want to embed another expression here. That is why I'm forced to use these backticks. Is your question answered, or you still have a doubt?
No, I didn't got it.
Okay, so what exactly is your question? Please repeat.
So what is the difference between concatenation and backticks? Differentiate. Can you tell me the differentiate and explain?
Definitely. So firstly, let's say I want to add 3 and 4. Okay, so this is not concatenation. Why? Because on the left hand side of plus, we have a number, and on the right hand side of number, again we have a number, right? So this is 7. But if it was 3 plus 4, or this, whatever, right? So now on the left hand side, we don't have a number, we have a string. So this is called as concatenation. It has nothing to do with backtick here. So firstly, backtick and concatenation, it is completely two different concepts, right? Now, why do I use backtick? I can show you a simple example here. Suppose I want to do like this. I count, right? And then what I need to do is, I need to do something like this. 3 plus 5. Okay. What is happening is, any idea what is happening?
No.
Again, this is concatenation happening. Why? Because on the left hand side, I have a string, and on the right hand side, again, I'm having a string. So both these numbers will be concatenated instead of addition. So I get the output as I count 35 cat. But if this is not what I want to add these two numbers together first, right?
Okay.
So what I need to do, I need to do something like this. Getting me? So firstly, they will be added first, and then they will be concatenated with this string. Is it
Okay.
getting
This
clear
is
now? Or
concatenation. Then what is the backtick key?
yeah, so see why I'm using backtick here. The reason I am using backtick is because I want to embed this expression inside the string. Without the backtick, as I showed you here, right, it is not giving me the output. It is simply giving me the same output, 3 plus 5. This is my output, right? But here, since I use backtick key here, see, this is the backtick key, this is the ending backtick key, and I get this output as 8 cat. But here I'm not using backtick, I'm using double quote, starting and double quote ending, so I get the same output. I hope now you see the difference now with this
just we
backtick.
need to enter the we need to enter the variable whatever it is. Just press the concat that key, then press the values. That's it. It
Yes,
goes under. Okay.
yes.
Okay.
But still, I would suggest you just write it down, this backticks, right? And after this class, search on Google or maybe search on ChatGPT and try to understand, dig deeper into it till your concept is cleared.
Okay, sure, sir. Thank you.
Extremely
Okay.
important. Yes, yes. Okay.
Okay, sure. Thank you.
Yeah. No worries. Okay, so should we proceed forward?
Okay.
Right. So this is little bit about backticks. I can give you some more example. Okay. So I'll clear this console. I'll hit enter. Let me say, okay, I'm creating an animal, let's say called pig. Okay. And then I'm doing something like this. I'm creating another variable called sound. So I'm giving you another example to clear this backtick concept for you. Okay. So I have now two variables. Animal has got this value pig. Sound has got this value as oink. Okay. Now I want to join these two together. So what I'm doing is I can use backtick here like this. Starting backtick, ending backtick. And I'll keep my cursor inside these backticks. Okay. And then I'll use dollar, starting parenthesis, ending parenthesis. And here I can type animal. So what is going to happen? And the value of animal will be evaluated first, and then it will be inserted inside the string. So I'll write animal says, again I'll use dollar. Now see, is it clear now? So what is happening is, whenever I want to ensure that this particular expression gets evaluated first and then it gets concatenated with this say string. So value of animal is pig, it is concatenated with says, value of sound is this oink. So these three strings are concatenated together because of these
Either
backticks now.
we can put it in single parentheses, like single quotations, double quotations.
No, we have to use these backticks here.
Sing,
If
single
see,
quotations only.
okay, see, if I replace these backticks with single quotes, I hit enter. See, I get the same output. This time JavaScript is not evaluating these variables. Why? Because I'm not using backticks. So that's the specific reason why I told you, right? So these backticks are extremely important, right? Any further questions, or is it still getting clearer now?
Okay, I'm okay.
Okay.
I'm okay, sir.
Fine. So now we have two more data types, which is what? Null and undefined. I talked about it. Null and undefined. These are two extremely important data types. So null is what? Null is actually an intentional absence of any value, and it has to be explicitly assigned. No variable will ever have a value as null until and unless I explicitly assign it a value as myself. And something called as undefined. Undefined. Suppose I declare a variable, let's say let a, but I don't give it a value. What's the initial value of a? It is simply undefined. Oops. Okay, this is let a console.log of a. Now let me show you here. See, by default, any variable which does not have a value, it automatically has this value, undefined. Okay, and if I really want to set it to null, what I need to do is I'll have to explicitly assign this value as null. Now, if I do console.log of a, now it should show me null here. Initial value is undefined, but after a while, since I explicitly gave it this value which is null, and yeah, note that both null and undefined are all in lowercase. Okay, so null is an explicit value. Okay, I hope this is clear. And then we have something called as math object. Very, very important thing, and a lot asked in interviews also. Math object. So this is what we're going to learn now. So math object is like an inbuilt object present in JavaScript. I'll show you here. So if I type simply like math, and remember that this object, it is starting with capital M. I told you there's something called as NaN also, which is not a number. So in math, it is capital M. The moment I type dot, it shows me so many methods. So basically, it is going to make our life a lot easier. Okay. So if I want to do something like this, math.py, it is going to give me the correct value of pi, which is an actual constant. So I do math.py. Okay. Now, if I want to round a number, I can do something like this, math.round. See, if I know that there's a function like this, and if I want to round my number, so we all know that if you want to round 4.9, right, it will be automatically rounded to what? 5. Why? Because anything after 4.5 is going to round it to 5, or anything before 4.5 is rounded to 4. Okay. So this is what it is. I hit enter, the output is 5. Now, let's say I want to get an absolute value of a particular number. So I can do something like this. Math.absolute, let's say I type -1 to 3. So what is going to happen? it is going to remove this negative piece of value and it is going to give me a positive value. So this can be required in some cases that wherein I just want to remove the negative part, negative portion of a number. So I get the output as positive 1, 2, 3. Okay. And then I have something here. Anyone who knows, like I told you in our first class, that how do we raise something to a power of a number, like 2 to the power 2 or 2 to the power 3?
Two, we need to enter two characters and between two stars. In between, we need to enter two stars.
Exactly. Very well. I'm so happy that you remember. So this is how we do. So this is read as 2 to the power 3. Or if I want to do 2 to the power 6, this is what I do. Right? But I think this is more simpler. 2 to the power 6 is 64. But if I want to do using math object, this is how I do. Math.pow 2 comma 6. So both of them will give me the same output. But if you see math.pow and this, I think this is more simpler actually. Just using two asterisk key rather than using this. But this is completely a personal preference, whichever you'll want to go with. Next, we have something called as floor method. So what it does is, let's say I have a floating point number. Floating point number means any number which has got a couple of decimals. So if I do something like this, math.flow 3.99999, right, and I hit simply enter, I get the output as 3. So what floor method does is, it simply chops or removes the decimal part. Whatever is there after the decimal part, it simply goes ahead and removes this. So if it is 3.999, it simply removes everything after dot. Okay. So, and then something which is very, very important. We have to generate random numbers. Anyone who knows how to generate random numbers? Anyone? No? So we have something called as math.random, and it is a very interesting function, and it is used very, very, very frequently actually. I'm going to give you a couple of exercises after a while, maybe after a few classes, that will reinforce your learning using math.random, because it is an extremely important method. So what it does is, I'll hit the up arrow key, I'll hit enter. Just try to see the pattern, what is happening. So math.random, what it does is, I'll write it here for you so that it is easier. Math.random. So what it does, it generates a random number between 0 and 1, but 1 is exclusive. Means the value can be 0, but it can never be 1. But it can always be between 0 and 1, but it can never be 1. If you see here, output is 0.6, again 0.09, 0.2, 0.07 and 0.18, but it is never 1. It can be 0, but it can never be 1. Okay. Now, if we want to generate a random number, let's say between 1 to 10, anyone is aware how do we generate a random number? This is something which is extremely interesting. So we'll learn this today. Let's say my role is to generate a random number. This is very frequently used in automation. Sometimes, like in one of your test cases, let's say you want to generate a random number between, let's say, 1 to 100 or maybe 1 to 50. How do you do it? This is how you do it. You can generate a random number like this. So the very first step is, use step 1, do like this, const step 1 equal to math.random, and since it is a method, we have to use this parenthesis. And why I'm getting this error? Why? Because we cannot have a space between the variable names. I can either use an underscore or either I can use like this. Okay. And then what is my step 2? Step 2 is I have to multiply this number by 10. I don't need parentheses here. Oh, sorry, here. Step 1 times 10. Okay. So what does it mean? I'll show you. So if I do math.random times 10, see, initially we were getting this floating point numbers like 0 point something, anything like 0 point 0 point 0 point something, but this is not what I want. I want a random number between 1 and something. So that is why I'm multiplying it by 10. So if you see, if the number is 0.6, we'll multiply it by 10, so it becomes 6.5. This will become 0.9, this will become 2.1, and so on. That is why we are multiplying it by 10. So we are getting these kind of outputs. See, 9.9, 6.4, right? But you might have noticed that we'll never get the output as 10. Why? Because the maximum value that can be generated by math.random is what? 0.99999. What is the minimum value? Minimum value is 0. The maximum value is 0.9999. But as I told you, 1 is exclusive, means it can never be 1. So the maximum value is 0.99. And if I multiply this maximum value by 10, what is the output? It is 9.999. So it is not 10. Getting? So this is our step 2. And then step 3 is, any idea what is step 3? We simply remove this decimal part. So let's say this is the random number that is being generated, which is my step 1. Step 2 is what? I multiply it by 10. So this becomes what? 9.99999. Step 3 is what? I want to remove everything after the decimal part. So here, what is the value till here? This is this. Now, step 3 is what? I'll remove anything after decimal. So my number becomes 9. So for that, what will I use? You remember I told you there's something called a floor method. So this is my step 3. Const step 3 equal to math.floor. Floor of what? Step 2. Okay. So what it will do is it will simply remove this part and the output will become this 9. Okay. And then finally, step 4. You may not remember all this. You will have to practice this. It was a little tricky for me initially, and don't worry if you are still not getting it, you will understand it. Don't worry. All you have to do is simply do step 3 plus 1. Okay. So I'll simply do const step 4 equal to step 3 plus 1. And I'll remove this error. And now, instead of writing why I showed you in 4 simple steps, actually it's not really required. I actually just broke it down into 4 steps to make things simpler for you. Otherwise, ideally what we'll do is we'll simply write it in one line. Now I'll make it one liner for you. What I'll simply do, math.random, which is going to generate a number between what? This and this. So once this number is generated, what I'll do, I'll simply multiply it by 10. Okay. After multiplying by 10, what will happen is I want to remove this decimal part. So what will I do? I'll simply do math.floor. Math.floor of what? Till here. And then I'll simply add 1 here. Now if I simply run it, I'll clear my console. And yeah, if you're still getting some doubts here, you will get this recording. Listen to this particular piece again. Try it, practice it. Maybe you can pause this video, just listen to it slowly again. Try it yourself, write the code yourself. That is how you'll actually learn. Just, seeing in one go is not going to help you. Okay. So this the output is 3. Now if I'll run it again, see, I get the output as 7. Let me place it here so that we can get the output a little faster. Enter. See, I get the output as 10. Random number between 1 to 10. This time I get a random number 3. This time random number 9. Random number 2, 5, 1. See, you will never get the output more than 10. That is how we have written the code. Okay. So this is how we generate a random number. Any questions so far? Please ask me if this any particular part is not clear in this. Very,
So
very, very
if
important.
we
Yeah.
so the limitation is 10 up to 10 numbers. So if 10 plus 1 it shows null, like
No, it's not like that. Why I added
it
1?
shows like error.
No, it's not going to give any error actually. It completely works. Are you asking why I'm adding 1 to this?
No, it's a limit is 10 numbers, you said.
No, it's not like that. I can use even, okay, if you are getting confused here, suppose if I do, let's
you
say,
write that the limitation
okay.
is up to 10 only. If
No,
you
it's
give
not like
more
that.
than 10,
Sorry, if you took it that way. This time I'm multiplying by 100. See, this time I'm getting a random number between what? 1 to 100. So whatever number I'm using here, just understand that I'm generating a random number between 1 till this number, whatever number I'm passing. This time, see, up arrow key, 70, 29, 4, 72. So this time I'm generating a random number between what? 1 till 100. On why I'll never get output as 0? Because I'm adding 1 to it. Otherwise, it might generate a random number between 0 to 100, which is not what I want. Suppose if I want to multiply this number, then it will be a problem if I get the output as 0. So just to avoid this value as 0, I'm adding 1 to it. So that it will be always between 1 till 100. 82.
okay. Oh,
I hope now you're getting now.
yeah, got it.
Perfect. So match.floor, what it does, it simply removes the decimal part. Please write this piece of code down and please practice it yourself after this class. Okay. So it's extremely important. And then finally, one last concept before we go. So we have something called as parse int and parse float. I'll clear the console. We have something called as parse int and parse float. Might sound a little weird, but what it does is they are used to parse strings into numbers. But we need to watch out for NaN, means not a number error. NaN stands for not a number, which is not an error in JavaScript. It is actually a numeric value. Okay. For example, I can give you a simple example what it does. Suppose if I type parse int, what it does, I can provide any number as even as a stringified number. So this is not a normal number. It is a stringified number, or I can say a string which is actually a number. So what it does is it simply sees this value and takes out, okay, there's a value called 24 inside, so I'll simply print it out. Now if I do something like this, 24.964, what it'll do, it will parse int, means what it will do is inside this string, it will look if there's a number inside. Yes, there's a number, which is what, 24.964. In parse int, what it does is it is simply going to take out anything before the decimal part. So the output is what, 24. And now if I do something like this, 24, let's say I can put my name, Piyush Gupta. So what it'll do is it will start parsing from left hand side till right hand side, and it will parse till the time it can parse. So it will parse 24, and the moment it sees P, it says, okay, this is not a number. So it will stop parsing then and there, and it will simply give the output as 24, and it is not going to throw an error here. Okay. Now there's something called as parse float also. So what it does is, suppose if I give the output as 25.76 this time parse float is going to give me the any number after decimal part. In the case of parse int, it simply stops at the decimal point, but parse float, it doesn't stop at the decimal point. It will give me the complete number, but as a numeric. It is not a string anymore. This is a stringified number, but this is not a stringified number now. It is actually a numeric number. Okay, and now if I type parse float of 7, which is a string, anyways it does not have a any you can say a decimal point number, so it simply gives the output as 7. But if I do something like this, parse float, and since I can, let's say, give my name, which is Piyush, here why I'm getting an output as NaN, because it sees the first character as P. It says that, okay, this is not a number, so it will simply stop parsing here, and it is going to give me output as NaN. NaN stands for not a number, not a number. So this is what it is. Okay. So why we would use actually parseInt? We would want to use parseInt because we want to convert a string to a number. So this string 21, it is actually containing a number, but if I want to add one to it, see here it is going to concatenate it. 211 is the output. But if I don't want to do this, I want to add 21 with 1. So this is what I do. I'll do parseInt, which will take out this number, which is 21, and then I can add this. So this is how I get 22. I hope it is not very difficult, right? And suppose if one more example, I do something like this parseInt, and then if I do, let's say, single quote, I type dollar, which is not a number, and I can type any other number afterwards. It is going to give me NaN. Why? Because the first number itself is not a number. If the first character is not a number, it will simply ignore everything else and simply give me NaN. All right, and we can even do spaces. ParseInt, and then I can do, let's say, single quote. This is ending single quote, and I'll type simply a couple of spaces. I'll type hello space world, and I get the output as what? This one, NaN. Because the first character is what? First character is a space, which is not a number. So I get the output as what? I get the output as NaN. So this is about this particular topic. And let me just do a quick recap for you guys. So I prepared this sheet for you. Right, so it is 10 o'clock anyways, so we are just doing a simple recap and then we'll wind up this call. Okay, so we are not going to learn anything new. So if somebody is getting late for someone, so maybe you can drop off, and anyways you're going to get this recording. So yeah, so we talked about there are 5 parameter types: number, string, boolean, null, undefined. What are booleans? They are simply true and falsy values. And I told you we can change the variable types in JavaScript, which is something like this. I can assign a number, then a string, and maybe a boolean afterwards, which is something that ideally we should not do, but it is possible. And then what are strings? Strings are pieces of text or strings of characters, and we wrap them in single quote, double quote, or backtick. As in, I can use a string like this, backtick, and then I type Piyush, and then backtick again. I don't have to use this particular syntax every time. I can simply use a string like this, right? Okay, so this is backtick. And then what is type of? Type of operator is all in lowercase. It gives me a string containing the type, right? So 87 is what? It is a number, but because of these quotes, it is a string. So I'm getting this output as string, but inside double quotes. And if I try to add one string with a number, since left hand side is string, right hand side is a number, so it is what? It is not addition. It is going to be concatenation. So this number will be converted to string, and then it will be concatenated with this left side. Okay, and strings are indexed. As I told you, this chicken, starting index 0, ending index is 6. So every character has a corresponding index. And yeah, as I told you, one more thing, every string has a property called length. Even spaces inside a string do matter. So if you see hello.length, output as 5. This string.length, it has 13 characters, so output as 13. And this string, even though it has got spaces, they are still counted, right? So output is 10. And then let's say if this is my string, let my song equal to surfing. So my song of 0 is what? S, right? My song of 1 is what? U, and then so on. So if I want to access the last character of the string, I can either use a hard coding thing, so I can know 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I can do st my song of 6, or I can do like this. This is a better way. Why? Because there's no hard coding. I'm using this length property to find out the length of the string, and since this last character is index length minus 1, that is why I'm doing str length minus 1. And strings are immutable, as I told you, so we cannot change the value of a particular index. So if this is my string, which is msg, the value of this msg is what? This is thing. And if I'm doing to uppercase a method, I'm creating another string, but the value of msg is going to remain the same. Why? Because I'm not using it. Msg equal to this, right? So value of msg is still this. And then finally, I have something called a trim method. What does trim method do? It simply removes the starting and ending white spaces in a string. Okay, keeping the original string unchanged. Why? Strings are immutable. And one more concept we talked about, we can chain multiple methods together. For example, if this is my variable called color, I've already defined it somewhere earlier. I can do dot trim, and then I can chain another method which is to uppercase, right? And yeah, in Cypress, when we are going to learn, it has a similar chaining concept. I'm going to teach you in Cypress methods, and then we have something called as index of. So if I want to find out the index of this string, which is ball, inside this entire string, I get the output as 4. Why? Because ball is here, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So index of ball inside baseball is what? 4, right? And if I'm just searching for B, first B is here only, so index is 0. This capital B, this is small b, so index of B is what? Not this B. Why? Because as I told you, it is case sensitive actually, so that is why the output is 4, right?
Hello,
And
sir. Hello,
yeah,
sir. Can you explain the slice method in shortly? Slice method, like
yeah, so I'm
how?
coming to the slice method here. This is the slice method, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so slice method does what? It simply basically, we can say, just like how we slice or cut a cake, right? So I, using slice method, I can cut a string into smaller string. Okay, so see what I'm
Okay.
written is,
Okay.
it slices an existing string and it can give you a piece of a string. For example, if this is my original string, baseball,
Oh
right?
yeah.
I
Okay. Okay.
stored this value inside sport, and if I do sport dot slice of 4, so what it'll do is it'll cut this baseball string from which position? Fourth position. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is inclusive. So what is the output? After fourth index till ending index, it is going to give me the entire string, which is ball. You getting me? And the value
Yeah.
of sport is going to be unchanged. Why? Because strings are immutable. So sport is going to be remain the same, but sport.size of 4 is going to give me you can say sliced string or a cut version of string. And then we talked about replace method. So what does replace do? It simply replaces a part of a string inside this string. So if I want to replace this entertaining with something called as okay, I can do something like this. This string dot replace what? Replace with. So I want to replace entertaining with okay. So this is how it is read as. And yeah, if I do something like this, it is only going to replace the first occurrence. So even if it is, let's say, if this is my string, ha ha ha, and I want to replace this with this. So only the first occurrence is going to be replaced, not all the occurrences. This is extremely important to understand. And then when we add two strings together, it is called concatenation. For example, 5 plus 4 is 54. Why? Because of these double quotes. If there were no double quotes, it will be 9. Okay, yeah. And then we talked about if there's a string created through single quotes and you want to have another single quote, then either we can use escape character or we can use a double quote inside or single quote inside or vice versa. And these are the string escapes, and I've showed you how to do it. And then we have something called as template literals, wherein inside a string we can have embedded JavaScript expressions. And if I want to use this dollar followed by this syntax, I have to use this backtick. So this you can say slanted single quote is called as backtick, which is just below the escape key. Okay, so if I'm having a variable called username which has this value, and I have to use backtick here, and then I can embed this string inside this, and I get the output as welcome back this. So this username is going to be evaluated first. The value of this is Ziggy, and it is going to be concatenated with this string. And similarly with this. And finally, we talked about null and undefined. They are also under primitive data types, and we have to set null explicitly. For example, let a equal to null. We don't set something undefined by ourselves, but technically we can. For example, like this. But ideally, we'll never do it. Okay. And finally, we talked about math object. And most important thing is it starts with the uppercase M. It is not small. If you use small m, it is not going to work. So we simply type math with a capital M followed by a dot, and you'll see all the list of methods like this. Math dot. This is an IntelliSense and it shows me all the methods. So if I simply type R, you see math.random, math.round, what I showed you, right? So math.flow, what does it do? It simply removes or chops off the decimal part. So 3.657, math.flow removes anything after dot. So output is 3. So in this case, 3.999, everything here will be removed. So output is 3. Round what? 4.6 is rounded to 5. 4.4 is rounded to 4. And math.power, what does it do? It simply multiplies the number to its power. 7 to the power 2, 7 to the power 7. Or we can do 7 star star 2, another method. In math.random, we just talked about it generates a random number between 0 and 1 where 1 is not inclusive. Okay, and we don't pass anything to math.random as a parameter. Don't worry if you don't know much about parameters, we'll learn deeply inside our functions classes. And then maximum number that can be generated is 0.999 and so on. It can never be 1, as I told you. Okay, so if you see, this is the output of math.random. So many different values. And using math.absolute, we can get the positive version of a number. This is anyways positive, so it is giving me the same value. If it is -4, it is going to give me a positive 4. And even if it is a stringified number or a string number, it can still give me the output as 2. Okay, and then yeah, I can give a string number, output as 10. I can give a negative number as a string, I can still get the output as 10. If it is a null, I get the output as 0 because this is not a number. I cannot do a math.absolute here, right? And finally, to generate a random number between 1 to 10, these are the steps that we follow, right? So you'll get this in a video, so everything would be mentioned here, and I've showed you. Firstly, we do math.random, we multiply it by 10, we remove the decimal part using math.flow, and finally we add 1 to it. Why do we add 1 to it? Because we don't want a random number which starts from 0 till something, because if I want to multiply it, then it will become 0 only. So just to avoid that case, we are adding 1 to it so that it becomes a random number between 1 to 10. If I use 15 or 20 here, it will be random number between 1 to 20 or 1 to 30, whatever number we are using here. But this is just for understanding and explanation. But this is how we use inside one line math.flow and inside math.random times 10, and then finally we add 1 to it. And what we learned lastly, parse int and parse float. That's it. Sorry, I just little overshot the time, but I really wanted to cover this concept. So that's it. Any questions so
Sir,
far?
I have one question.
Yes,
So
please.
we need to complete the project also after ending of the sessions.
Oh yes, actually. So after some classes, since we are very at an early stage, I'm not giving you much assignments. But as we'll proceed forward, I'm going to give a lot of questions. Some
Just one, just we have the training with like live project training we have.
Oh yes, absolutely. I will be sharing you so many questions, so many assignments. When I say project, actually, I'm going to give you a live application in the case of Cypress also. So don't worry about everything. We'll touch everything, all the concepts.
We need to do by ourselves individually, then submit it like
No,
that.
no, no, nothing like that. We'll do it together actually.
Okay, nice. Okay,
For somebody who's beginner, it will be very hard. Suppose if I I just give
okay,
you a very big project, you'll not be able to do it. What is the point? I don't want to demotivate you, right?
okay, okay. If we get a help, it's useful for me
Exactly. So
because I'm a
that is my
beginner. Yeah,
responsibility.
okay,
Yeah, we'll be doing it together so that you learn it. Firstly, you'll see me
okay,
doing it, and then when you'll do it yourself, that is how you learn it.
okay, okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions, or we are good to go?
Yes, I have something regarding syllabus.
Yes,
Uh,
Rahul.
so, are you covering like Okta, Docker containers?
So that is not a part of our curriculum, but if the time permits, we can take it up. Not an issue. But otherwise, if you see, it is like an endless ocean actually. If you maybe you can later ask me that are we going to cover Git here? Git is itself is a very big topic. Docker itself is in a very big topic. So we can have an entire full-fledged course on Docker actually and containers, right? So
Mhm.
automation testing itself is a very vast thing. We cannot cover each and everything considering the time and everything what we have. But it is a good suggestion, so we can definitely keep a note of it.
VDD Cucumber also is
We
not
can.
VDD.
Cucumber is also possible actually. If time permits, we can actually do it with Cypress, of course.
Okay, but
Okay.
this is not part of syllabus. This is separate topic.
This is yeah. As I told you, Cucumber is actually a separate framework, so we can learn Cypress even without learning Cucumber. Actually, some companies, right? They don't use Cucumber at all. They simply use Cypress without Cucumber. While some companies they use Cypress with Cucumber. So totally depends what exactly is your requirement, right? But otherwise, using Cucumber with Cypress is very, very, very simple. Not at all difficult. Right. If required, we may have a separate class, and I can in one class I can just teach you how to use Cucumber with Cypress. It's very simple, not an issue. Okay.
Okay, and CLI, CI/CD. Yeah, this is
Yeah, CI/CD is there actually. Don't worry. Okay. So, anyways, like it is 10:15 now, right? When we are overshooting a lot, right? So
okay.
yeah. So I'm stopping the recording, and we'll meet tomorrow then. All right.
Okay.
Yeah. See you guys, and all the best. Take care.